जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रंजन श्यामनतीरावनचारी राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन श्यामनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद हरिनाम संकीर्तन महात्म की जय शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanathimiraandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupadamayam Dadati Sudadantam Deham Shri Guru Shri Taparatmanam Shri Univasamancha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saguna Raghunatanitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Ravita Shri Vishakanitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopishaka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hridye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravakturunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Over Saturday afternoon satsang. Anybody remembers what we covered last week?
Yes, Prabhu. We talked about where is mind located, okay. How the material world is 1/4 of the Lord's creation. Okay. And what is the meaning of Rishikesh also we discussed. We have to control the mind, we have to control the senses.
Okay. Anybody else wants to share? Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? You can share. Nothing like right or wrong, whatever was you felt important. You can share.
We talked about who is Bhagavanta.
We talked about who is Bhagavanta. Okay. Okay. So we finished till verse 15. So verse 15 actually had a lot of discussion we had around Rishikesha, right, about our senses, how the Supreme Lord, he is the owner of our senses, right? And today we are using our senses for our own enjoyment, but actually the senses are meant for the pleasure of the Lord. So we have to somehow try and figure out how we can use our senses in the service of the Lord. That is the most important thing, and that is why the Lord is called Rishikesha, Rishika Ishaha. And we also discussed that the Lord has so many names. He has so many names based on the different activities he does, and these names are given by his devotees, right, with love, and based on the different activities that the Lord does, which we call Leela or pastime. Okay, so we're going to do from verse 16. So I'm going to chant the verse. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakulassaha Devascha Sugosham Manipushpakau Kashyascha Parameshwasa Shikandicha Maharataha Drishtadhyumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajitaha Drupado Dropadeyascha Sarvasha Prithivipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Shankam Dadmu Prutak Prutak. So, in verse 15, we talked about how Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya, Arjuna blew his, which is called Devadatta, then Bhima blew his conch shell, which is called Poundra. Now, the others also are blowing their conch shell. So, King Yudhishthira, who is the eldest of the Pandavas, so his conch shell was called Ananta Vijaya. Nakula and Sahadeva, their conch shells were Sugosha and Manipushpaka. And then there are various other archers who all blew their conch shells. Now, if you see, actually, so far, so many names of so many warriors has been outlined, right? Actually, this was the First World War. The World War, actual original First World War, you can call it. Right? People from actually fighters from all over the world had come and assembled here in Kurukshetra. Either they were on Kaurava's side or on Pandava's side. And Dhritarashtra was responsible for the First World War, right? And it was ghastly, actually. In 18 days, millions of people were slaughtered, killed. Right, it just 18 days, war was over. So, we can understand saying that, whenever there is upheaval like this, when there is adharma, such world wars happen, such chaos happens, right? Now, many times we are bewildered. Okay, why Corona? So many people have asked, why Corona? So much all over the world, right? Very few, you can say cities or countries or states have been, everybody's affected, right? So why something like this? Why should something like this happen? Anybody wants to share their thoughts? Why should something like this happen? So horrific, right? As in, if you've heard of, what happened across the board, right? Like in Europe, how people died without, very heartless. You can say it was very heartless, right? The way people died. Why all this? Why is all this required in such a scale? Why can't it just be some, normal problem? Everybody faces problems. Why can't it just be some normal problem that people can just deal with it, get over it, and then move on with life?
Hare Krishna, sir.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Sir, we have spoiled the environment, sir.
We have spoiled environment.
So the Bhumi Mata has become so angry. So all of us are facing the problem. It is not one or two. Most of us have caused a lot of problems. We have spoiled using the nature.
Okay. Mataji is saying we have spoiled nature. Okay. What else? What are other? So many. All of you would be reading stuff on the internet, etc., etc. What is the spiritual vision? How do we look at this from a spiritual perspective?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
From a spiritual standpoint, I think that there were a lot of, sorry for the word, Varna Shankaras on this planet. So nature, or fact of the matter, Bhagavan had its own way of clearing few jivas from this planet. So that is the reason.
Okay. So Varna Sankara, we'll talk about Varna Sankara in the last part of chapter 1. Simply put, Varna Sankara means unwanted population. Okay, so what Dheeraj Prabhu is saying, there is a lot of unwanted population because of which the Lord had to eliminate unwanted population. Okay. Any other? Okay, these are devotees who have possibly read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, etc. Is there a worldly view?
Worldly view
as
is
in outside in worldly. Yes, Seturaman.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Worldly view is cruelty to the animal, even the smallest creature. You have become very cruel and heartless, and you started killing and eating all sorts of things. So nature wants
so
to
you're
show
saying
its power.
Animal killing, animal slaughter.
Animal killing, yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts? Anybody else has?
It's kind of a reminder that none of us can be saved. It's Krishna's or God's reminder that you should believe in this. That's the only fact. That's the only truth. Anything can be disrupted.
Okay, see, basically, yeah, I mean, pretty much everybody, whatever all of you have said is right. See, the mass slaughter, this is mass slaughter, right? Whenever there is mass slaughter, which means that it is a time of, this is called collective karma. We call this collective karma. The collective karma of the world, okay, has come to such a stage that, elimination has to happen. Okay, this is laws of nature. These are laws of nature. Laws of nature means it is, ordained by the Lord, by the Supreme Lord Krishna. But there are laws, just like, any state has state laws. Like then there are traffic police, they have traffic rules, etc. Right? So like that, if we think, okay, there are no rules for the functioning of this material world, then we are in illusion, right? Because a small place like, a city, state, every place has rules, right? A small company has rules, house has rules. For example, why won't this material world have rules? Why won't this universe have rules? right? But I don't think, I mean, material people who don't have a spiritual vision don't look at it this way. They look at it as, you know, something happened. Okay, it's fine. You know, it will go, it will pass. Now, if how many of us actually remember Corona, right? Now, maybe we do. After few years, we'll forget. Corona is gone, right? So actually, we have to remember saying that, you know, some of these really high, you know, like mass scale, right, is for actually waking up people. Of course, I mean, those who are affected, who will be affected, etc. It is a result of their own past karma. They have done some very bad things because of which they have to go through such experiences, right? But for the others, right now, maybe, you know, we are fortunate, we have been protected from this, but for others it is actually an awakening. It is a wake-up call saying, get up and open your eyes, right? We are living, actually we are pretty much closed our eyes. We don't want to think about anything else except eating, sleeping, mating, defending, right? We don't want to think about what is right, what is wrong, right? We don't want to, I mean, how many people would have thought, oh, Corona can come to anybody. Corona can come to anybody, right? So who, I mean, we think about so much, you know, we are in control. I am, you know, I am the owner, I am the doer. Can we protect ourselves from Corona? So we have very limited strength. We are very tiny beings in this whole creation. So the Lord is actually giving a wake-up call, saying that wake up, think what, you know, what is going on, why it is going on, what should I do, what is my role, how should I change my life? Should I just forget this as a bad dream? No, right? But unfortunately, the memory of human beings is short-lived, very short-lived. It will pass, right? Only the very intelligent ones take the cue and really wake up and think about it, ask the relevant questions, right? But others will just, for them, it's just something unpleasant and just pass. And after some time, life is normal. Go back to the mall, eat, go to movie, go do shopping. That's not the intent of, you know, these events happen as a reminder for us. So we have to actually, we have to be, you know, aware. We have to be aware of things about around ourselves, right? So this was the First World War, right? I mean, such Dwapar Yuga is, you know, now it's about 5,000 years since Kali Yuga started. Now, Dwapar Yuga, previous Yuga, was actually much saner than Kali Yuga, right? And I keep asking people, saying that, you know, from, for example, you know, 20-30 years back when, you know, I was small and we were looking at Bangalore city, and people who are Bangaloreans, you would see, you would know, right, how Bangalore has changed, or how, you know, India has changed in the last 12-13 years or 20 years, right? And it's actually going down at a very fast pace. You know, funny things happen, right? So I actually was trying to sell some old furniture that I had, okay, and I put some ad on OLX, etc. I got a call from somebody, okay, and of course, I mean, then this guy said, okay, very nice sofa, I want to buy this. You know, I was quoting some X rupees. He said, yeah, you know, I'm very happy, it's very good quality. I have not done this before. I might be, you know, naive to some of this, and some of you might have already experienced some of this, right? Then he said, okay, then I had heard of, you know, some QR code based fraud on in through these, you know, sites. So then this guy called. Then, you know, I was a bit suspicious. Then I just said, you know, are you going to send me a QR code? He said, no, I'm not going to send you a QR code. He said, you know, you have PhonePe? I said, no, I don't have PhonePe. Okay, you install PhonePe. Then he said, I'm going to give you some advance. So then he sent me a link. Now that link, on the link, it says, or the message, it came to me as a message. So the message says, rupees 5,000 received from, no, it says rupees 5,000, yeah, received from, something like that, right? When you look at that message, it will look like you're going to get some money from him. Right now, when I clicked on that link, thankfully PhonePe came up with a message saying that if this person is not in your contact, if you continue, then you will be you will be paying money to this person or something to that extent. So I just read the message and I said, okay, this looks like fraud, right? And then the guy called me saying that, sir, click kijiye, click on that. I said no, but this message seems to be saying something else. And then he started giving me like gali in Hindi, abusing me, right? And I said, nay, why are you talking to me like this? This message is saying like this. I have not taken any money from you. If I have taken any money, I'll give you back, right? So, I mean, this whole word is just see, openly they are robbing, openly, right? I mean, 20 years back, you would possibly have not even thought about anything like this, right? And I know so many instances of people who lost money with, things like this, etc. So this world is just going to dogs, right? And we are talking about, advancement, we are making so much of progress. Yeah, but what it is doing to things around us, right? As in, yeah, you can argue both ways saying that, it's good and bad, but the bad is actually just increasing, right? So, I mean, so these kind of instances are not for us to just forget. It's not for us to forget. So we have to be really cautious, aware, question, saying that why this is, right? And the Lord is saying in Bhagavad Gita, right? Whenever there is a rise in irreligion, then the Lord manifests. I mean, either he himself manifests or his energy manifests, right? And to just destroy, just destroy. Right now, this corona doesn't look at, okay, how are you, how much money how much bank balance you have, how influential you are. No, nothing, no use. Right? So we should understand actually we are actually very tiny. Our powers are very tiny. We are in illusion that we are in control. We are not in control. Right? Smartness, intelligence is just to understand what we should do, what we should not do, and live a more sane, meaningful life as per Prabhupada. Anyway, so that is 16 to 18. I just, Prabhupada is talking about how kings came from all over the world. So World War, and I got into this, whole loop. Okay, so moving on, verse 19, Sabosho Dhartha Rashtranam Hridayani Vyadarayat Navascha Prativim Chaiva Tumulobhyanunadayan. Says, okay, the blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. So this was, like I said, last time, when before the battle is starting, there's all these various instruments that are sounded, so that everybody becomes enthusiastic to go ahead and either kill or get killed. That is all. Wars in the past was so simple, actually digital. Either you are dead or you're alive and you win. That's it, right? No hiding, no nothing. Simple, straightforward, right? So all these soldiers had to be really encouraged, right? Because you have to be almost go blind to go and be ready to sacrifice yourself in a war. Okay, so here there's one beautiful sentence that Srila Prabhupada makes, right? Because this is, like I said, it's a situation of fear, right? Because it's a context where possibly somebody might die. Prabhupada makes a beautiful statement here in the purport. He says, one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. Okay, some of these sentences are life changers. I call these gems. Okay, so this is one of the gems of Srila Prabhupada. So just think about this, just meditate on this. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. Right? So we have all experienced fear. Is there anybody here who has not experienced fear or, adventurous? Of course, I know of many people who are adventurous, right? Like bungee jumping, they jump off the cliff, right? Maybe for them, there is nothing like fear, or maybe there is something else which makes them fearful. Maybe bungee jumping doesn't. I'm sure there are, devotees here on in the session also who might be fearless, right? So, but generally, I think, something or the other we'll be afraid of, right? Now, the solution Prabhupada is saying, right? So we might be afraid of our future, we might be afraid of our loved ones, what is going to happen to them. We might be afraid of things like, for example, Corona. We might be afraid of, I don't know, I mean, strangers. I mean, different people have different kind of phobia, right? So here, Prabhupada is saying, one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord. Okay, one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord. So this word shelter is very, very important. It says has nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. Even in the midst of the greatest calamity. So once when Srila Prabhupada was here in this, material world, there was once this, I think time of Second World War. Second World War. I think when there was some bombing which was happening, I think Japanese forces were throwing bombs around West Bengal or something like that. I don't remember the exact detail. Right now, everybody was running hither and thither. Oh, bombs! We're going to die. Or whatever. Go figure out some shelter, some what is that? Whatever they call that, bunker, etc., etc. Right? Everybody was in chaos. Right? The whole place was in chaos. Right? And then some people came and called Prabhupada. Prabhupada, come, let's go. We have to go and take shelter. Prabhupada, it was lunch time for Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, I'm not coming anywhere. I'm going to have prasadam. You please go wherever you want. Right? Then he sat and he was peacefully having his prasadam. And then after that, nothing happened to him, obviously. And then all those other people also came and said, what is this? How come you're like not afraid at all? He said, see, everything is an energy of Supreme Lord, Krishna. Okay. Krishna, if he wants to kill me, wherever I run, how will I be protected? But at the same time, if Krishna wants to protect me, nobody can do anything. Nobody can do anything to me. Right? Now, complete fearlessness, because what is the guarantee that you are going to run somewhere that you're going to be protected, that you are going to save yourself? Right now, some people might say, okay, if you don't do it, it's foolishness. Right? But I'm saying, even if you do, in situations like this, especially, right? You don't know where the bomb is going to fall. You don't know who's going to die. Maybe where you are staying, maybe nothing will happen. Maybe, all people ran other places, something else might happen somewhere else. So our intelligence we don't have enough intelligence to take the right decision in this situation. Many situations like that. Right? Great devotees, they just take shelter of the Lord. When water is above the neck, above the head, when we are under water, we just take shelter of the Lord. So actually, for devotees, there is no fear of any danger. Okay, even if suppose we have to do something, maybe we have to get up from one place to another, go somewhere, whatever. I try to do something, but there is no fear. The complete because devotees have taken complete shelter of the Lord, so they know what does shelter mean. So in Ramayana, Vibhishan comes and surrenders to Lord Ram, right? Then all the monkeys, Sugriva, everybody is saying, don't accept him. He's coming from the enemy side. Don't accept him. Right? Lord Ram says, even if Ravan comes and surrenders to me, it is my duty to accept him. Because whoever comes and surrenders to me, I have to give them protection. This is the promise that the Lord has made in Bhagavad Gita. Right? Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja am tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. So actually, rakshishyati iti vishwaso, he is going to protect us. Avashya rakshibe Krishna. Krishna is going to absolutely, without doubt, protect his devotees in all situations. But the criteria here for getting that protection, right? We have to become qualified. That qualification to get the Lord's protection is this taking shelter. How do we understand this taking shelter? It is like children who take shelter of their parents, right? Now, if the child has some problem, is the child going to do all the research and then come to the father and say, or mother and say, see, this is the problem, this is the solution, please go and do it? No. Right? Now, you might think of the child as dumb, right? But the child is dumb, but the child is completely dependent on the parents. Now it becomes parents' own responsibility to take care of the child, right? So they will do whatever it takes to protect the child because the child is small, he doesn't have the intelligence, etc., etc. So similarly, the Supreme Lord, who is our Supreme Father, he takes care of all of us. irrespective of whatever intelligence levels are. We don't have to think, oh, only dumb people is going to take care or intelligent people is going to take care. No, he is like a father, right? Father is equal to all his children, whether somebody is dumb or intelligent. The only criteria though, right? If suppose say there's a father and he has 2 kids, one kid doesn't listen to anything the father says. The other kid does everything as per the father says. Whom will the father like more? Naturally, the father will like the son who is actually, abiding to everything that he's saying, because okay, this guy is, very disciplined, very respectful. He wants to follow what I'm saying. So the criteria is not whether we are intelligent, we are not intelligent, whether we have money, we don't have money. No, that is not the criteria for the Lord. The criteria is, am I a dependent, surrendered child to the Father? If I am dependent and surrendered to the Lord, then the Lord will take care of everything. You don't have to worry, right? So for devotees, there is no fear. There's no question of fear. In all situations, the Lord protects his devotees. All situations. Okay, so beautiful. So even in the midst of the greatest calamity, we might be in the midst of, greatest problems. But for devotees, there is no need for fear. The Lord is there. Right? This is the beauty of relationship with Krishna. See, that is why I'm going to talk about today. Yes, I'm going to talk about Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. So we'll talk about that in the next 1 or 2 verses. So beautiful it is actually, the relationship with Krishna. Yeah, 21, 22. Okay, so now I'll cover verse 20. अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शस्त्र सम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदम् आहा महीपते. At that time, Arjuna, seated in the chariot, he spoke to Lord Krishna. Now, so there's a description of the chariot of Arjuna. He says the chariot is marked by the, he is a flag which is marked with Hanuman. So he has a picture of Hanuman, and also Krishna is there with him, right? And this chariot is also, given by Agni, which we already discussed. Right now, Hanuman actually previously there, once Bhima actually goes and meets Hanuman, but he doesn't know that it's Hanuman, and Hanuman is Bhima's elder brother, right? And in the form of a monkey, Hanuman is lying down on the floor, and Bhima wants to cross that place. And generally, we don't cross over somebody, right? We don't. If somebody is lying down, we don't cross over them, right? Generally, across all cities, languages, especially in India, most people follow this. The reason being, in everybody's heart there is Paramatma, right? So we don't cross over the person. So Hanuman was lying down on the floor, blocking the path for Bhima, and Bhima did not want to cross over. So Bhima asks Hanuman, saying, "Please, can you get up?" So then Hanuman says, no, I'm very old monkey. I can't move. You are such a powerful, you look very powerful. Why don't you just move my tail slightly this side, and then you can walk across. So then, Bhima is trying to move. He is not able to budge at all. I mean, even its tail is not even moving an inch. So he tries with all his might, he tries, and then, finally, then he gives up. Saying that, oh, who is this? Then he realizes, saying that there is no one more powerful than me except my elder brother Hanuman. Right? Then they hug each other, and then Hanuman says, as a gift for you, I am going to be present on the flag of Arjuna when he faces this great battle, and I am going to shout. My shout, right, is going to create fear in the hearts of all the opposing, all the soldiers of the opposing party. So Hanuman himself is there to help Arjuna, right? In this again, so Prabhupada says very nicely, saying that, Hanuman was there with Rama, and though Rama, see, actually just think about this, Rama could have very easily jumped across, isn't it? From, to Lanka. Why didn't Rama do that? Rama is the Supreme Lord. Why didn't Rama himself jump across? Why didn't he jump? He could have done, I mean, he's Supreme Lord, he could have just gone from here to there within seconds. Why did he not do it? This is why, we have to understand from the viewpoint of Shastra, from Acharyas, that actually it is said that, the Lord always wants to give credit to his devotees, right? So though the Lord could have done this himself, he didn't do, and he gave that opportunity to Hanuman so that Hanuman could be glorified, as a great devotee of Lord Rama. Right? So Rama, it looked like Rama took Hanuman's help to become victorious. But it was just Rama's, it's just Rama's love for Hanuman, that he wanted to glorify Hanuman as a great devotee in front of, in the world for years and years to come, right? So he let him lead his, whole victory in that sense, because Hanuman plays such an important role in this whole, battle between Rama and Ravan. So here Prabhupada is saying that, see, Rama was present, Hanuman were present, and both of them emerged victorious. So Vaishnavas emerged victorious, right? And here in this battle, Krishna is there, who is not different from Rama, and Hanuman is also there on the flag. So victory was guaranteed, right? There is no doubt of Arjuna's victory, right? He couldn't have lost in any case, right? And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, right, in such auspicious conditions, right? Prabhupada is saying these are auspicious conditions. Though externally we look at it and Arjuna is in the midst of distress and so much of difficulty, and he has to fight his own relatives and family and this and that. It's such a distressful situation for Arjuna. But in this whole thing, even though it looked like a very difficult situation, Krishna had personally arranged everything for Arjuna, right? He had set up auspicious conditions. So in such auspicious conditions arranged by the Lord for his eternal servitor, so eternal devotee. So Arjuna is his eternal devotee. Pandavas are eternally associated with Krishna, which means, okay, so this is one. So Lord does Nitya Leela, which means that every moment the Lord's Leela is going on in one universe or the other. Like I said last time, right? There are so many millions of universes. Ours is just one of them, right? And the Lord, his pastimes go on continuously, one after the other, in one universe after the other, right? And wherever the Lord is present, his, like Bhagavad Gita happened here, in some other universe, Bhagavad Gita will be happening, right? So for which again Arjuna will be there, Pandavas will be there, etc. Right? So he is his eternal devotee, right? And so the Lord arranges for his devotees, the Lord arranges auspicious conditions. So though the situations might externally look to us as inauspicious, many times what we do, we have a problem, we go to the Lord and we say, Krishna, see, or, or Balaji, we go to, so many people go to Tirupati, right? They go to Tirupati and they put money into the, hundi, and they say, okay, Balaji, I'm putting 10, please give me 100. Right? That is what people normally do. Okay, I have a problem, Balaji, I put some money, please take care of it. Right? So we are bribing the Lord. And this is a business relationship with the Lord, saying that, Lord, I am giving you something, give me something in return. This is not the relationship between a devotee and the Lord. Actually, we'll talk about that in the next verse. Right? But irrespective of what the situation is, the Lord takes care in such a way that, so sometimes, like I said, when there are problems, we expect a particular solution. We say, okay, this is the problem, this is the solution, but that might not be the best thing for us. I give this example of Google Maps. Right? Before we had Google Maps, what would we do? We were starting from place A to place B. We just know, okay, generally this is the route to take, right? So then we go and we take a left and we take a right, and maybe there's a huge traffic jam, right? Now there is no way. So when we took that left, we thought, okay, this is the best way to go, right? Then we took a right and we are suddenly just stuck in the traffic jam, right? It's like, like now today we look at Google Maps, right? And say, oh, okay, Google Maps is telling us don't take a left there because there's a traffic jam. It's like that actually. It's the Lord exactly knows which left we have to take, which right we have to take. Now, this is one important point I'm going to make. Most of us think that the Lord is always taking care of us. So whenever something happens, most people say, oh, everything is for the good, right? Or they'll say, okay, it's Lord's mercy, Lord is taking care of me. Actually, we have to understand one thing. Supreme Lord Krishna or Vishnu, he takes care of only those living beings who have completely surrendered to him. Supreme Lord takes care of only those living entities, those, for this discussion, we can say those human beings who have completely surrendered to the Lord, to Him. He only takes care of them. Now, there are so many others who are not surrendered to the Lord. And surrendered means what? Living a life like the way Supreme Lord wants. That means as per Bhagavad Gita. If we are not living life as per Bhagavad Gita, then we are under the control of the Lord's external energy, which is called Maya or material energy. Okay, so this corona is coming from material energy of the Lord. So those who are not surrendered to the Supreme Lord, they are under the control of material energy. Those who are surrendered to the Lord are under the direct control of the Lord. Okay, so for those of us who have not surrendered to the Supreme Lord, it is just material energy, which means that it is karma, karma phala, and there is no intervention there. If I have done some action, I have to experience the result. We can't break away from it, break out of it, right? But for those who have surrendered to the Lord has, he has special, I mean, he is the creator of all this, right? Like, for example, a king can come into the jail and he can change the rules of the jail. He can do whatever he wants in the jail, right? Nobody is going to stop him from doing it, right? He can free a prisoner saying that, okay, this person is good, let him just, let him go. Because he is the supreme guy, right? He has all the powers. So similarly, Supreme Lord, who's the supreme person in this whole creation, he can take care of his devotees. He can change their karma phala. He can do whatever it requires to take care of the devotee. Okay, but that happens only if we are surrendered to the Lord, only if we are dependent on the Lord. Like I said, Vibhishan came and said, "Oh Lord Ram, I'm surrendering to you." Lord Ram said, "Okay, I will accept you." And then he became, subsequently, they were victorious. He became the king of Lanka, etc., etc. Right? So the prerogative is with the Lord. But if we are not surrendered to the Lord, then it is just Lord's energy, and that energy runs like rules, right? There are if else, right? If this has happened, then this has to happen. If this has happened, this has to happen. They're just rules. Nobody can change it, right? So we have to understand, if we really require, if we want to feel the protection of the Lord, then we have to actually come surrender to the Lord. If we don't surrender to the Lord, then we are at the mercy of the material energy, and which means just our karma and karma phala, our actions and the reactions. That's it. We don't have any other. And for those who are surrendered to the Lord takes care of everything practically. Actually, Krishna re-emphasizes this fact multiple times throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so this will be the last verse for today, 21-22. Beautiful verse, right, which is setting the context for the Arjuna Uvacha Senayorubayor Madhye Ratham Sthapayamechyuta Yavadetha Niriksheham Yodu Kamanavastitan Kaimaya Saha Yodavyam Asmin Dranasamudyame. So Arjuna is saying, oh, Krishna is called Achyuta. So I'm going to talk about that, Achyuta. So Arjuna is saying, oh Achyuta, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who are desiring to fight. So Arjuna is telling Krishna, please draw this chariot between the two armies. I want to see who have come here to fight, right? And he uses this word called as Achyuta. Okay, so this is beautiful, right? See, this is one of the things, this is the beauty about devotion to Krishna, right? So here, what was Lord doing? What was the role that Krishna was performing here on the battlefield? What was his role? He was the chariot driver. Just imagine. So just to make it more the situation more dramatic, he was Arjuna's driver. The Lord became Arjuna's driver. Okay, so can you, for example, suppose you are having somebody who comes and cleans your car, or you might have a driver. Just imagine tomorrow that person coming and saying, "Sir, you please drive, I'm going to sit in the back seat." What will you say? What will you say if something like this happens? It's like, this guy gone crazy or what? As in, who's the boss here? Am I paying you the salary or you are paying me the salary? Right? Because we are clear, there is a hierarchy, right? I mean, I am the person who's employed him and I'm giving him money and he needs to do. I'm just putting it in a very dramatic way, right? So, if the driver comes and tells saying that no, you have to drive, I am going to sit in the back seat. Just you have to follow whatever I say. You're going to think this guy is crazy, right? But just imagine Supreme Lord, who is the master of everything. Everything is owned by him. Everybody is inferior to him. This Supreme Lord agreed to become the driver of his devotee. Why? Why did the Lord want to do this? Why did the Lord want to do this? This is the beauty. Actually, Prabhupada writes in the purport saying that the relationship between the, let me read those words. I'm muting somebody because there is. Okay, so the Prabhupada is saying in the purport, the relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. So Lord is the giver of orders. Okay, all of this whole material world is running under the orders of the Supreme Lord. If the sun has to rise at 6:13, it will rise at 6:13, not 6:14 or not 6:12. The whole material creation is running like a clock wheel. Everything is running under the orders of the Supreme. But the Lord derives greater pleasure. He becomes more happy when instead of somebody becoming order taker, he becomes order giver. So if a devotee gives orders to the Lord becomes happy. Like for example, Yashoda Maya was the mother of Krishna. Now Yashoda Maya is scolding Krishna. You are not eating properly. What will happen? How will you go to the forest? You have to go full day, you have to be there. Eat properly. Right? Then in Damodar Leela, she ties up Krishna, binds him to a wooden mortar. Who can bind the Supreme Lord? He's most powerful. Nobody can catch him. But his pure devotees can catch him. Now, this word pure is very, very important. What does pure devotee mean? A pure devotee is one who does not have any material desires. Now, he is not trying to think, okay, I'm going to control the Lord so that I'm going to get all the benefits from it, which is what happens in this material world anyway, right? Like why people have relations, etc., etc. They say, no, I want to take control, right? I take control, I take advantage. Pure devotee is not of that nature. A pure devotee is just saying, I want to serve the Lord. That's it. For his pleasure, not for my pleasure. Right? So, for such a pure devotee, if one is such a pure devotee, the Lord is willing to come under his control. Okay? So, now I'm going to tell something. In Vaikuntha is the 3/4 of the spiritual world is called Vaikuntha. 3/4 of the Lord's creation is called spiritual world. It is otherwise called Vaikuntha. Now in this Vaikuntha, you would have heard, there is Lakshmi Narayana, right? Now this Lakshmi Narayana in Vaikuntha, so if you go to Tirupati, right? You look at the Lord from a distance, you offer prayers, you have to do things this is called Aishwarya Bhav, right? So there are some pujaris who are doing some puja and we are just standing, at a distance, offering our pranams, prayers, then we are, you go to Tirupati, it's a Padandi, Jargandi, Padandi. From a distance, we are just, we have to go. In Vaikuntha, the Lord is the Supreme. Okay, and everybody is his servitor. Everybody has to serve the Lord, and the Lord is the master, everybody is the servant. Okay, now in the case of Krishna, so between Vishnu and Krishna, there are 4 qualities which are not there in Vishnu or Narayana. There are 4 qualities. Okay. Now, amongst these 4 qualities, one of them is how he comes under the control of his devotees. So for Krishna, Krishna stays in a place called as Goloka Vrindavana, which is topmost part of Vaikuntha. In Goloka Vrindavana, all the devotees who stay in Goloka Vrindavana, they don't know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So Krishna just makes them forget that he is the Supreme Lord. He also forgets that he is the Supreme Lord. And this relationship, and it just becomes like a very close relationship, between the Lord and his devotees, where this Aishwarya Bhav, the mood that the Lord is supreme, is forgotten. Just imagine if Mother Yashoda, of course, Mother Yashoda sees in Krishna's mouth twice. She sees the whole creation in his mouth. And suddenly after that, she's like, oh, no, this can't happen. This can't happen. Right? Because if she starts thinking, saying that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, how will she chastise him? How will she beat him? How will he love him? How will she love him? How will she, give him milk? None of this will happen, because you will be standing like this in front of the Supreme Lord, saying, oh, Krishna, you are the Supreme Lord. What can I give you? You are Atmaram. You have everything. How can I do anything, any service to you? Then what is motherly love? Motherly love cannot exist in that situation. So Krishna prefers his devotees to, when we reach that pure stage, Krishna prefers his devotees to, or those devotees who want to serve Krishna without having to worry that he is the Supreme Lord. Those devotees go to Goloka, right? And if we are in awe and reverence of the Lord, then we'll go to Vaikuntha. So this also depends on the mood in which we want to serve the Lord. If we are in awe and reverence, oh, the Lord is so great, he's so powerful, then we will possibly end up going to Vaikuntha. But if you want to say, oh, okay, I want to serve Krishna in that, mood of mother, I want to serve Krishna like a friend, like that, if we have that kind of desire to serve Krishna, then we can go to Goloka Vrindavan. This Goloka Vrindavana is beautiful. I will discuss how beautiful Goloka Vrindavana is some other time. Right? But this is the beautiful relationship between Krishna and his devotees. That is why Krishna is called Bhakta Vatsala. Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. He is so dear to his devotees. Anything for his devotees. He is ready to do anything for his pure devotees. When I say devotees, it is pure devotees. Like I said, calculative devotees, Krishna will just avoid. Oh, this person is very calculative. He wants to give X and he wants to get 5X, 10X. No, Baba. Be away from him. Unless we have very pure intentions. Of course, initially we might have that, 1X, 5X. But slowly when we are worshipping Krishna, that mood changes. We will stop asking Krishna and Krishna will take care of his devotees anyway. Right? So this is the beautiful relationship. See, we are here to do bhakti, not to some stone, not to something which doesn't have any feelings, not to something which doesn't reciprocate. No. The Lord is so merciful that he is incarnated as Archa Vigraha, as the deity in the temple. We don't call it idol. It's not idol worship. The Lord has himself manifested there so that he can accept our offerings. Right? But the relationship between the Lord and his devotees is very sweet. It is full of what we call as rasa, right? Like mango, rasa, right? There is juice. So which means that there is some kind of pleasure in this, exchange of love and affection between the devotee and the Lord. And this is the beauty of bhakti. So we are not doing bhakti to become inert and, we become, we do so much of austerities and, we grow long hair and we live for thousands of years. No, that's not the intention. And neither is the intention to say, okay, I'm going to give up everything. I'm going to go to the forest, or I'm going to go to Ganga, no, or I'm going to go to the Himalaya. We are doing bhakti just to please the Lord in a way that he likes, right? So we understand what the Lord wants and we try to conduct our life, try to serve the Lord in such a way that he will become happy. And when he becomes happy, we automatically become happy. This is the beauty of, so, if somebody is looking for a secret for being happy, the secret for happiness is to make the Lord happy by serving him. When the Lord becomes happy, we automatically become happy. We don't have to separately endeavor. We don't have to separately go to the mall. We don't have to separately go here, go there, spend money, do this, do that, nothing. Just serve the Lord sincerely, and automatically we become happy. We become satisfied. Actually, I keep asking, what do you want? People say peace of mind. I said, why peace of mind? Why not go one more step and say happiness? Because actually people don't understand what happiness is. Peace of mind itself is good enough. Actually, happiness is unimaginable. What we are experiencing now is not happiness. It is just a break in the distress. We think that it is happiness, but real happiness is very different. It's not experienced. We have not experienced it really. You might have. I'm just exaggerating it slightly, right? But when we do bhakti, we experience some happiness which is not there otherwise on this material world, and that is natural happiness, right? Because the Lord is happy. Right? For example, you might have had this experience sometime. You're sitting in a temple, or you get involved in some bhajan, kirtan, and you just forget yourself, right? And suddenly then you come back, the kirtan ends or the bhajan ends, and then you are like, okay, back into the external settings, and you suddenly feel some happiness, and that lingers throughout the day, right? Or maybe into the next day, etc. I'm sure all of you would have experienced this, right? This is because in that service, if the Lord is happy, then we as jivas, we as living entities, we automatically become happy, right? So please remember, this is the beautiful relationship with Krishna. This is why Krishna is called Bhakta Vatsala. So the motivation for me to do bhakti is that the Lord is the Bhakta Vatsala, right? Why won't we want to establish a relationship with somebody like this, who's so sweet, who is always reciprocating, who is not like the, somebody of this material world. He says, oh, you said this to me, you did that to me. Krishna is not like that. He just forgive whatever we do, like small children, like he just forgive, and he'll just love us just like that, right? And it's such a beautiful relationship which cannot be compared. Actually, it is said that the closest that we can compare this pure love is the love between the mother and the child. It is the closest in this material world, but it cannot be explained. So multiple times I keep saying that if there's a gulab jamun, maybe somebody likes gulab jamun, somebody likes rasgulla, think of your favorite sweet, right? And I am just describing, I kept one bowl of that sweet in front of you, and I am explaining, saying this flavor is like this, this texture, this, that, I go on and on and on for 5 minutes. Then you say, Baba, can you please stop? Can I just take that and eat? I can experience it myself. You don't have to struggle so much. Bhakti is like that, right? So how much ever I say gulab jamun is sweet, you will say, I will just taste it and I will experience it. So you have to experience this yourself, right? But then that is the motivation for me to do bhakti, is this beautiful relationship with the Lord, which the Lord reciprocates at all times. It's not that we have to become some big devotee, some big sannyasi or nothing. We just are doing something with love and affection to Krishna. Krishna will immediately reciprocate. Okay, so this is the beauty of the relationship, and we will talk more about it as we go forward, as we progress in Bhagavad Gita, right? But our goal should be that we should become pure devotees of the Lord, and we should serve the Lord the way He wants, and automatically we become happy. We see eternal happiness. That is the whole goal. Why are we doing all this? Why struggle? We can as well go to a mall, go here, go there, do this, do that. We are doing this because we are going to get something that, we can. I'll take Janvi's question. So we are doing here so that we can actually experience happiness, permanent happiness, right? Without so like I said, like our happiness is not in our control. Our happiness is controlled by situations. Our happiness is controlled by people. Our happiness is controlled by everything apart, which is outside us practically, right? We feel bad. Oh, okay, something happened. Somebody lost their job. We feel bad. Somebody got something. We feel happy, right? Everything. I mean, just think about everything. Mostly it's all connected to things outside our control, right? But this happiness is completely, in the sense, in our control, in the sense, to the extent we serve the Lord, that we automatically experience that happiness. There's nothing else. Nobody can take away that happiness from us, right? It's so beautiful, right? And it's the most precious thing we are looking for. So intelligent people will engage in the service of the Lord. Okay, so question, long question. Okay, in the last class, we discussed that a pure devotee can be someone in any of the stages of Varnashrama. Yes. Today, we spoke about a pure devotee as someone who is devoid of any desires. Yes. Okay. So let me explain. Okay, good question. Someone is in a stage other than sannyas. The person needs to navigate the happenings in the material world. Absolutely. One is devoid of desires. Will the people around that person not be impacted? Beautiful question. Okay. So just for everybody's benefit, the question is saying that I said, we have to become free of desires, right? When I say free of desires, it is free of material desires. Material desires in the sense, see, we should understand one thing. Whatever we are destined to get, we are going to get. Okay. So for example, that is why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So he's saying, do your duty, don't worry about the result, which means what? If that duty is supposed to fetch you some result, it is going to fetch you the result. If that is not going to fetch you a result, then it's not going to fetch you a result. Don't get affected by that. Just do your duty. Now, unfortunately, what has happened, modern world has become result oriented. We do anything and everything only if there is a result, which is completely opposite to the philosophy that Krishna is saying. Right? Now, desireless doesn't mean that we become like a rock. Or we say, okay, I don't want this, I don't want this. See, this is called neti. This is there is another path of yoga where we reject everything, we renounce everything. In Krishna consciousness, we don't renounce everything, anything. Actually, devotees, we eat the best of foods, right? The most tasty of foods, right? We go to the best of places. We travel so much, right? Now, we are not losing anything in life. We are not losing anything in life. We are not desireless. We use everything that we have in the service of the Lord. So if I have money, I use it in the service of the Lord. If I have, like, for example, I know devotees here who are painting, right? They are painting for the service of the Lord, right? If somebody can sing nicely, we sing for the pleasure of the Lord. It's not that we give up our singing, or it's not that. So for example, if I like to talk, I will talk and glorify the Lord. So it's not about being devoid of desires. It is called a higher taste. So for example, let me try to explain this. Right, there are different ways to get happiness. Okay, some people say only going to the mall, spending money is happiness. Some other people say no, there are higher tastes. So for example, I will go to a music concert. What kind of music concert? Somebody is playing, Carnatic music or Hindustani. Now there is happiness there also, but that happiness is different from the happiness of going to the mall. Now the person who is going to the mall will look at this person and say, hey, what is this? You have given up all your desires to go to the mall and spend money, go to the restaurant, go to pubs, etc. You say, no, I don't like that kind of happiness. That's not happiness. That's animalistic life for me. Right? So similarly, somebody who is experiencing this happiness from, say, going to a concert, from reading a book, from doing some art. Now this is a higher taste, still higher taste. Krishna consciousness is still higher taste, wherein I'm going to do everything again higher than just listening to music. Now I'm going to listen to kirtan, right? Which is glorifying the Supreme Lord. It's the same going to a concert thought process, right? But it is using my desire to hear music in the service of the Lord. I'm going to hear, say, bhajans, kirtans, which are in the glorification of the Lord. Or say, suppose I am a singer, I will sing for the pleasure of the Lord. So we don't become desireless. We desire everything for the pleasure of the Lord. So desires exist, not for my own gratification. And these are higher, finer. So let me use that word, finer. These are finer desires, finer and finer desires, right? The best form of desires we can call. So desires, we will discuss this in 17th, 18th chapter. There are three modes. There is mode of passion, there is mode of ignorance, and there is mode of goodness. So for example, people who have some mode of goodness come into Bhagavad Gita class. People who are in the mode of ignorance or mode of passion. Mode of ignorance means drink, sleep, no goal in life, just do whatever, unclean. This is mode of ignorance. Mode of passion means work. No time for anything else. Oh, Bhagavad Gita 1 hour session in the Saturday. Oh, absolutely no time. This is mode of passion. Mode of goodness is, yes, while maybe other time I am work, but I also have little mode of goodness. I'll say, okay, I think this is something important. I think I need to hear this, right? There is little mode of goodness, right? And then there are others who will say, for example, they want to go to, concert, right? Now, this is mode of goodness. Now, what we are talking about is called as mode of pure goodness or transcendental. It is actually above these three worlds, right? We'll talk about this later, right? But it is still having desires, but not for my own sense gratification, not for my own enjoyment. Rishikesha, like last time we spoke about Rishikesha. Rishikesha is the master of the senses. Now I want to use my senses for his pleasure. So I want to use my voice for his pleasure. I want to use my drawing skill for his pleasure. Is that okay, Janani?
Yes, sir. Is it feeding the soul?
Sorry?
Is it like feeding the soul that we are seeing?
Yeah. Good way of putting
the
it.
Lord
So,
resides in our soul.
yes. So we don't have to feed the Lord, but feeding the soul in the sense there is food. Like we say, we are eating food for the body right now. Correct? Whole day, what we do 3 times, 4 times we eat, we give food for the body, but we have to give food for the soul. Food for the soul is bhakti. When we do activities of bhakti, the soul is fed, not the super soul. Please understand. The super soul is the recipient, or super soul is expansion of the Bhagavan. He is residing in our heart. He is just a recipient, right? As in, we are the server, we are servants, we are serving the Lord, right? So when we do activities that we are supposed to do, that is like food for the soul, right? And when there is food for the soul automatically becomes happy. Why the soul experiences happiness? Because the Lord is happy. Like I said, that connection is very, very strong and clear. We don't artificially try to enjoy. We don't have this enjoying mentality. Our mentality is, I want to make sure that the Lord enjoys. And when the Lord enjoys, I automatically experience happiness. So it's not desirelessness. It is not, no, I'm going to become a sannyasi. I'm going to give up everything. No. Use everything that you have. Use all the capabilities that Krishna has given you. That use it in his service. Okay, so very, very important question. Thanks for asking. I think it kind of summed up the whole conversation. Anybody has anything else to share, ask? Yes, Jethuram.
Yesterday, sir, there was a Salem lecture was there, discourse. In that, they were insisting that we must buy Prabhupada's books, lot of books, and he has already said, now I even though I am not there in this world, I will be in the form of books.
Yes.
So you buy more books, give to people. The people today he may not read. One day he will read, and he will reach the required soul pleasure, or
Yes.
you serve Lord.
Yes.
So in that context, people have traveled all over the world, sacrificed their life. Even people have traveled to Russia, and Russia, 2 devotees were caught. It is very difficult to sell books in Russia, and they had to copy some books, write down in the notebooks, and then they had to sell it carefully. They had to choose people, talk to them slowly, and show them the handwritten notes, and then sell it.
Yes.
In that context, one day he was caught. One of the devotee was caught, and both of them were put in jail. One devotee was even killed. So when people have served Lord, just now about half an hour back we discussed, Lord protects.
Very good question.
This is only a death to the physical body.
Yes.
But why it is happening to devotee?
Okay, so this is okay. Beautiful, very nice question. Very nice question. Right. See, actually, what the Lord does sometimes is inconceivable. Right. So for the devotee body perishes, but because he's so so deeply in thought of Krishna, he would have achieved perfection. The devotee who was killed, apparently killed, right, in some situation, etc., he would have achieved Krishna, because Krishna says that I am protecting my devotee, right? See, which is why I said externally situations might look like whatever, right? See, for us, losing something in this material world is loss, okay? But what is more important is the consciousness in which we are in that stage, right? A devotee who has sacrificed everything to serve the Lord And at that point of time, that means that his time has come to just leave this world, right? And the Lord takes him, right? Now, what will happen? The atheists, there are a lot of atheists in this world, right? Now, the atheists look at this and say, oh, look at your Lord. He doesn't protect anybody, right? So Krishna has a screen, a veil, right? Now, that veil is lifted only for devotees, which means that if we are don't have faith in Krishna, Krishna will let that be, right? Because if we don't have faith in Krishna, he is not going to come and change our faith unless we want him, unless we desire that he changes our faith, right? So, like for example, see, take Prabhupada, right? Prabhupada, while he was going from here to US, he had 2 heart attacks on the ship. At that old age, he was going to, serve the mission of the Lord. 2 heart attacks on the ship. We might think of it and say, oh, so heartless. Krishna could have protected him. Yes, Krishna protected him. That's why nothing happened. And now Srila Prabhupada is glorified, saying that even amidst with 2 heart attacks, with no money in his pocket, he went and preached to the whole world. I mean, he's become a great devotee of the Lord. So the Lord most times actually glorifies his devotees, right? By putting them through. See, it is like this, many a times. Of course, these are great devotees. I mean, we cannot compare that and say, okay, am I going to face some situation like that? Maybe not, right? I'm very small, right? But great devotees, Lord wants to glorify, right? Like what happened to Hanuman, right? Or, for example, what happened to Lakshman in the fight of Ram and Ravan. So many instances are there where the Lord's devotees are maybe put into some kind of distress. That is just to glorify. The Lord wants to glorify his devotees, saying that, see, even in this situation, this person was Krishna conscious, right? But atheists, externally, when you look at it, you'll say, oh, see, the Lord didn't do anything for his devotee. The devotee would have gone back to Krishna, right? That is why, see, we have to have what we call as Shastra Chakshu. Shastra Chakshu means the eyes, the spiritual vision we need to have. We have to read Shastra. And beautiful point you made actually about buying and reading Prabhupada's books. See, Prabhupada's books are the life changers. You can see all of this behind me are all Prabhupada's books, right? Of course, there are other disciples of Prabhupada also written, but Prabhupada's books have changed my life, and they are changing so many other people's life, right? And we have just taken one such book, right, which is Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's just one volume. Prabhupada has written more than 50 volumes, right? And it's been translated into multiple languages. He sacrificed his whole life to write these books. And these are life changers, right? I request and pray to everybody here, please buy Prabhupada's books. Please read Prabhupada's books. Please distribute Prabhupada's books. I remember at work, we used to have this, what is that? Christmas Santa, no, what is that? Jai, what do we call? Santa, some Santa.
That's Secret Santa.
Secret Santa. So Secret Santa, multiple times at work, I have given Krishna book, I have given Bhagavad Gita to people. They are secret gifts, saying that let it change somebody's life, because that book, once it comes into our house, it will definitely change our life, no doubt. It is a time bomb. We say it's a time bomb, right? At the right moment, it will change our life. It will come in, and when we are in the most hour of need, Prabhupada's books will come and change our life.
True, sir.
Right? So please take, if you don't have Prabhupada's books, please take. If you want to purchase them, please let me know. I will arrange some courier, something, whatever, so that it can reach your address. Please take Prabhupada's books. Please read them. Please give it to others and benefit. This is the highest, best social service, welfare work you can do.
My personal experience, about 3 months back, we had a Bhagavad Gita class, 18 sessions, 18 days by Sri Krishnadasa from Salem.
Yeah.
So first class, after the class, in the end of the class, he said, buy the Bhagavad Gita book, start reading.
Yeah.
And it will have a lot of effect on you. More than you listen to the lecture, plus you read the book. Both will give you very good benefit, he said. Then along with that, he told me that buy that 12 cantos of our Bhagavatam. Immediately I purchased from JP Nagar only. They brought and gave me all the books. I'm having that. Actually, that day changed my life.
Yes.
Now I am regularly listening to one of the lectures every day or the Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Saturday especially two lectures are clashing. 4 o'clock, this JP Nagar lecture. 6 o'clock will be another lecture from our Raman Charanaravindra Das from Salem.
Okay.
But today that has been cancelled. Anyhow, these books are changing a lot. As you rightly said,
absolutely.
books has got lot of power.
All
And
of our-
this Prabhupada books is so powerful. Sir, I have got one request.
Yes.
I promised them that I at least for the year end, as a promise, I will buy 10 books suitable
Okay.
for children.
Okay.
Because we are in our apartment, there are about 40 apartment houses are there.
Mhm.
So there are a few children. I told I will list out the children I want to buy the books.
Okay.
So what all the books we have in JP Nagar? Do we have the list suitable for children
Yeah, there
less
are
than 20 years?
books,
15 years, we can say.
Yeah, okay. So I'll ask Anant Vasudev Prabhu to come. He has your number, I think. I'll ask him to contact you.
Okay.
So we'll take care of
Okay.
that. Not worry.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much. Hare Krishna.
Right.
So this is like real, right? I mean, this is so many lives of so many devotees. So request all of you to please read Prabhupada's books, purchase Prabhupada's books, give it to others, and benefit it. So again, I'm reminding, bhakti is very simple. It is ABCD. A for association. This is 1 hour of beautiful association we're having every once a week. Association of devotees. B is books. Again, books. We have to read both Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. See, chanting. If you're not started chanting, please start chanting. I had already shared a video of how to chant. But I'm going to I'm giving it some more time, maybe 1 or 2 more weeks, and then we're going to discuss more about chanting. Finally, D, diet. Please consume Krishna Prasada. Offer food to the Lord without onion, garlic, vegetarian food without onion, garlic. Offer it to the Lord and consume that as prasadam. Prasadam just changes our consciousness and it changes our life, right? So this is the simple, so simple. Everything that we are doing already, we just spiritualize our activities, right? This is spiritual life, right? It's a simple, very easy for people in Kali Yuga to practice. So request all of you. Again, I request all of you to please join on time if possible, because otherwise you will lose, stuff. And please tell more people. Again, if it is benefiting you, please, spread the word, invite others. If they are not coming, pull them. Right? It is for their benefit, right? And it will definitely change all our lives, right? If there is no other question, then we can stop here.